Have you ever had dreams where you found yourself being chased? You feel like you're being ran down or pinned down and hunted, and you wake up sweating, panting, gasping for air, trying to figure out what in the world just happened or how you found yourself in that situation? Yeah, that's been my life. And I'm about to bring you into it so you can have a little bit more of an understanding about why I'm passionate about what I do. You see, for so long, the devil has been trying to steal my voice, has been trying to silence me, and has been trying to make me be quiet, even up until me recording this episode tonight. And so I'm going to bring you into my life on this episode of The Truth About Trauma. So what I'm realizing is I'm getting more comfortable with being uncomfortable. This story, I've told a few times, but it seems like each time I tell it, as uncomfortable as it is, it gets a little bit easier, and I release layers of it that have never been released before, And for so long, shame had my tongue, had me bound up, feeling like I couldn't say these things. I was embarrassed from things that I've done, participated in. But I was a child. And so I am just learning in this process and releasing and sharing. And, honestly, these type of conversations, communication is an exchange. It's a currency. The thing is, I'm going to release, and you're going to cash out, and I'm going to make hell mad. I'm going to make the devil mad. But we don't get to choose the role that we play in this life. That is given to us by God. He has chosen us to do certain things. He has given us specific assignments. And so no matter how difficult they may seem, or no matter what end we're on, because believe me, I would rather somebody else be doing this and I get to cash out on them. Okay. But that's not what he said do. So I am the martyr in this particular situation and this dispensation of time. And what I release, you get to cash out on, because you're going to get gems, you're going to get healing, and all kinds of things. And I want to say this too, that me sharing my story, this is not what makes me an expert. Time, education, investments, mentorship, collaboration, research, study, experience. That's what makes me an expert. This is why I'm passionate. But that's not, passion doesn't make you an expert. Expertise comes with time and investments. Okay? So don't hear my story and think, oh, okay. So there's a chapter in my book, Year of She Arise. You can find it on Amazon, called Qualified. And I start off by saying rape, molestation, and incest are powerful tools used by the enemy. And I want to elaborate on that by sharing a little bit of my testimony so you can see how one violation so early in your life can send you in a downward spiral. And you may see these things as normal. The world may see these things as normal, because I was reading an article on sexualism and teaching sexual development in children. And as early as age 4 to 7, it talks about touching and masturbation and how that's normal, and how even though it's normal, we should have conversations about it, but nonetheless normal. And that really struck me as disturbing, because that shouldn't be a normal part of development. And so we have to understand that certain things are inherited. They're just passed down, and they're in the basic fiber of who we are, in our cellular memory. And how do we get here? So I want to talk to you about this now, that when I was very, very young, very, very young, I was molested. And not only was I molested, but I witnessed the molestation of others. And to spare all the details of how I got in that situation, because that's, going to make this drawn out. I was in a child care center. I was encouraged to come to the back of the room and to pull my pants down. And a older adult man, I'm not really sure because I was so young, proceeded to go down the row performing oral sex on a row of girls my age. And in this moment, not only did I anticipate what was happening, even though I had no idea, I found myself being struck by this act. And it hurt me because I was young and tender and I did not know what was going on. But I watched him come down the row doing girl after girl until he got to me. And this happened at least 2 times, I know, in this particular center. But it shaped the foundation of who I was. I became very, very self-conscious. My family moved a lot because my mom was military. I had trouble using public restrooms, so much so that I would literally hold my bathroom from Texas to Georgia. That's a 12-hour trip where I had trouble going to public restrooms. Never really understood why, but it was a thing, and did not associate it with trauma until much later on in my life. But I suffered from urinary tract infections from these type of things, and ended up really exploring pornography, masturbation in middle school, going on to lose my virginity in a vehicle, in a car in high school, being raped because I was at a party, with friends doing things that I probably shouldn't have been doing, and ended up in my captor's bed, in the wee hours of the morning. And all of these things happen, I know, because of one act of being violated so young. There was nothing in me that said, stay away. There was nothing in me that found these things unfamiliar. And in fact, in high school, I found myself wanting to lose my virginity to get it out of the way. That was my thought on it. I just want to get this out of the way. And so I know that had I not been exposed to sex prematurely, I would not have gone down this spiral. But I also know there are certain things that were just in my DNA. In the lineage of my family, rape and being a product of rape is not foreign to us. It is my family. Rape, being a product of rape, and all these things are not foreign. Each generation from my mother up had to endure these type of difficulties, and so this is not something that's foreign to my spiritual being. This is not something that's foreign to my generational legacy. And so in order for it to break, we have to not be silent, and we have to use our voices in order to speak on these things, to see where they formed and how they came. Sexual violence is very prevalent in Black women. Sexual violence is very prevalent in Malecia's bloodline. Sexual violence is very prevalent in the South. And you're talking about incest. You're talking about molestation. You're talking about secrets, darkness, lies, all these things that we're exposed to very, very young. Things that you do and participate in that you don't really know why. And the reason why it's been able to be this way is because of that saying, what goes on in the house stays in the house. All these things. And they're not even things that are said to you, but more so things that are embedded in you. When secrets are in a family, when secrets happen in a family, and that's the standard, it's pushed down subconsciously. And so conversations don't happen simply because it's easier for them not to happen. But we have to get to a place where we know that we can't hide behind those things. We can't keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. We can't not talk about something out of fear and think that it's going to change or break. And me being chased in my dreams was twofold. On one end, it was me being a runner, because that's what I became good at. Because when you move all the time and when you've been abused, it's easy to run from situations, run from people, run from circumstances. You know, being a runner on one end makes things easy. Running from ideologies, running from your past, running from your history, running from situations, from people, from circumstances, from responsibility, running from pain, from guilt, from shame. All these things, running, kept me from having to confront the difficult situations that had happened in my life. And on the other end, I was being chased down because of the calling on my life, because of what I'm supposed to do, because of what I'm supposed to pursue, and run and those things kept me from really focusing on the task at hand. They kept me distracted. But once I found my power, and once I realized that this entire thing was about my voice, I understood that I had to start speaking more and more, because through my speech, I was breaking things. Through my speech, I was confronting things. Through my speech, I was opening things up. And through my speech, people were becoming free. So I want you to know that we are going to be having some very serious and raw conversations about this. Because truth be told, sexual violence is a very real, serious thing. And if we're talking about America, it is something that was introduced to us as Black women. Black women. It is something that we inherited, and that's something that we were taught to be strong about, something we just had to deal with. Our bodies being perverted and manipulated, us being put on show, us being raped, being abused, whatever they wanted to do to make sure to keep us in a place of bondage, to keep us in a place of being pursued. But we have voices, we have power, we have fire. We don't just show up and we're not just the most educated group in America just because. It's because there's something in us that the enemy tried to minimize. And I don't want us to continue to become this hyper independent feminist movement to be safe. There is a thing as being too strong. And when you try to carry these wounds on your back like lashes that are never healed, that's being too strong. When you want to carry the burden of shame that you can't even tell your story, that's being too strong. When you want to mask it with competitiveness and goal striving, that's too strong. We got to be real about this. We got to be real about this, because even as you hear these gurgles beneath me, this is my baby. I have lived a very blessed life in spite of being harassed in my sleep, harassed in my waking life. And when I say this, you may think, oh, okay, well, she was just molested. Oh, okay, well, she was just raped. No. I spent years in elementary school being touched. Do you know what it's like to go to school every day and to try to learn yourself and to feel confident in who you are, because you're always the new girl and you move around, for a boy to come up and touch your butt, to rub your butt after you've been abused. And then when you say stop, for him to say, I can do this because it's poking out. I can do this because I want to. Elementary school. These are conversations that we need to have, because that type of doing, that strips a portion of your identity. It makes you feel helpless. Happening in broad daylight. Teachers not doing anything about it. Boys will be boys. Day after day, we develop something as women, as Black women. We develop a complex. We develop a fight. We develop get back and resentment. And it becomes a driving factor on why we have to prove that we're the smartest, that we're the best, that we're the dopest. It becomes the reason why we gotta half dress to prove that we have authority over our bodies by being naked. Come on, let's talk about it. It's why we take back our confidence by saying, well, I'm gonna sleep with him, and him, and I don't care if he's married, I'm gonna sleep with him too. It's why we settle in relationships and find ourselves sabotaging the very nature of who we are simply because we got some attention. And we trick ourselves by saying we are in charge. It's why the predator feels like that they can have us and why we're attracted to them. And if we could be real about it, it's why we become predators ourselves. All of this from one act of violence, one act of being violated, one act in our youth of being touched, one act of being challenged. And why is this important? Because intimacy matters. And we're going to talk about intimacy more deeply on another episode. But intimacy matters. And when it's perverted, it changes the paradigm of who you are and how you see the world. Intimacy shapes you. And when that's taken from you, you will become whatever you need to be to survive. You will become whatever you need to be to survive. So some of you are saying, this is just me. I like this, but it's not. And truth be told, superficiality does not look good on you because we can see it. And just like you could see it on me when I was in that stage, I can see it on you. The meanness, the curtness, that's all signs. It's all signs that you've been touched, you've been abused, you've been messed with. That oppressive nature where you will allow yourself to be ran over in a relationship, even in your marriage. You married your captor. You married the predator. So you're made to feel low. No, these are signs. And so you're either too aggressive or you're too passive. No, we are going to be balanced in our emotions and our thinking. We're going to be able to self-regulate. And you know how we're going to get there? By talking about this. By talking about being molested under the age of 6. By talking about dabbling in masturbation and pornography in the 6th grade. By talking about prank calling the hotline and acting like you're older than you are just so you can talk to boys. By talking about looking for your first kiss. By talking about always being attracted to the same type of guys. By talking about having to fight through those things in your marriage, in your finances. By talking about how you over nurture in parenting because you don't want your children to feel neglected. All these things are real. You feel low. So you got to make yourself feel high. You feel low. So you got to make others go low. I was a mean girl in high school. I was mean. I was a bully and I didn't care. I had a big heart, but I was mean. Why? Because I finally found my footing on how I could take my authority. And after that rape happened, baby, I was on go. I was on go. It was nothing for me to have a comeback with my tongue. It was nothing for me to cut you down with my mouth. The very mouth God gave me to heal, to prophesy, to spread his gospel was the same tongue I was using to cut down. People that know me now probably couldn't see it. But that's who I was. That's who shame crafted me to be. That's who I became, so that I didn't have to confront these things, because there wasn't no way I was talking about this stuff right here. No. So here I am laying it all out there, and there's so much more. But I want you to know that you're not alone in this journey. I want you to know that you can be free, and it's not easy. It's not easy at all. You're getting your freedom ain't easy. Talking about it ain't easy. Fighting through it, it's not easy. But it can be done. And God put me here to share my story and to help you see that you can do this. That there are things that I'm going to help you through. That you don't have to take so much time. Not like I do. Not like I did. So, I just want to say that toxic cycles don't get to define you, and you can live a life void of the brokenness that has tried to plague you. What the enemy meant for evil, God will turn it around for good. That dark space in your life is a space that the enemy tried to keep you bound to. But God is shining the light in the darkness. And guess what? You are the light in the darkness. You are the light. Remember this. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. I want you to know that not only is God shining the light in the darkness, but the way he's doing it is through you, that you are the light. That when you walk in the room, it lights up. That shame wants you to shrink. It wants you to see yourself as small, but you're not small. You are a giant. You've been a giant. You just couldn't see yourself. And so I'm going to help you see yourself. And I'm going to be for you what I needed someone to be for me. Because I've been tormented all my life with fear, with abandonment, with isolation, with neglect. But that stops today, right? Because I'm getting ready to step into my next. And my next is helping you on a massive level. I want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Truth About Trauma. I was supposed to be sharing my story, and I did, even though it wasn't in story form. So I want to invite you to click the link in the description and check out my new course, From Victim to Victorious. It is going to be an amazing time where I get to gather with you and really walk you through week by week on how to overcome sexual trauma that was inflicted upon you from the sexual abuse that occurred in your life. This is not my first time teaching this course, but it has been revised and has a ton of more insight on how we can take captivity captive. Okay, so thank you for tuning in once again. I look forward to seeing you next week on the well, listen to that. The baby said he looks forward to seeing you next week too on The Truth About Trauma.